Rahul, your last name is Sharma, and I was first introduced to this instrument, the Santoor, by a record back in the early 80s by a guy named Shivkumar Sharma. Is that your dad?
That's my father and guru, and also the founder of this instrument that you're talking about, which is the Santoor.
Right. So before your dad, it was kind of a folk instrument, and he's the one who kind of brought it into Indian classical music, right?
That's right. So before he brought it into Indian classical music, it was a little-known instrument. And there is a mention of this instrument way back in the literature, in Sanskrit literature, and it's called the Shatatantri Veena, which actually means an instrument with 100 strings. And so with the Persian influence, the name Santoor came up. And he made a lot of modifications to it. Earlier on, it was just used in Sufiana Mosiki, which means as an accompaniment to Sufi singers in the Kashmir region. So basically, he created a language of this instrument and kind of simplified and discovered, experimented, and created a path for this instrument to be featured on stage and amongst the connoisseurs of Indian classical music and get acceptance in that sense.
So no longer 100 strings. What does it have now?
Well, it has about 94 strings.
Okay, so he didn't cut back that much. You still had to spend all morning tuning this thing.
Well, the first thing a student learns when you start playing, whether you're 10, 11, is try and tune this instrument. Because once you tune it, and if it's not tuned to perfection, the tonal quality differs, and it won't have the same effect, that desired effect that one is looking for. So for that, a little bit of vocal is important, and then you get down to the basics of, the technicalities of any instrument, and that's how it is.
Okay. The first thing Zakir did when he walked in the studio today was he walked over to our piano and started banging out some chords, and so actually he's a pretty good piano player, as it turns out. And the piano has, 3 strings for many of its individual notes, and it looks like the Santoor is set up.
It's probably the predecessor to the piano.
Yeah.
Because when you strike a note on the piano, a metal, strikes the hammer. And in a similar way, when we strike the strings of the Santoor with a striker, which is made of wood, they call mallets.
Right.
And it's kind of a similar style, I would say.
So with all those strings, once you've tuned to a particular rag, you're stuck in that rag for a while?
So we have to kind of plan ahead which rag, and so happens that sometimes you're playing in a festival in India, you're playing second, and you've thought, today I'm going to play rag Jinjoti. When you go to the hall, sitting in the green room, you hear the vocalist singing rag Jinjoti. So now you have to kind of quickly be able to come up with another rag in the same category,
same
and the
family.
same tuning family.
Yeah.
So you don't want to spend too much time tuning as well,
Yeah.
So these are all things that you learn once you start performing on stage, and every instrument has its challenges, and that's one of the things for the Santoor.